The World Economic Forum has begun in the Swiss Alps at a moment when war, tariffs and fragile alliances are shaping the global agenda more than growth forecasts or investment plans. Officially, Russia remains largely isolated here. Since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Moscow has no formal delegation and no seat on the main stages. But this year, one Russian name is quietly back in the corridors. Kirill Dmitriev, a special envoy of dictator Putin, is expected in Davos, according to Reuters. Sources say he is set to meet with the members of the US delegation as part of talks focused on ending the war in Ukraine. Journalist Barak Ravid reports that US envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are expected to hold meetings with Dmitriev during the forum. Just weeks ago, Dmitriev traveled to the United States for closed-door talks with the same team, later briefing Putin on the outcome. On the Ukrainian side, Defense Minister Rustem Umerov confirmed that Kyiv's negotiations with the US officials will continue in Davos, keeping security guarantees and post-war recovery high on the agenda. All of this is unfolding as Donald Trump attends the forum in person this year, leading a large American delegation, a shift from last year when he addressed Davos by video. Beyond the negotiation rooms, tensions over Greenland and threatened US tariffs on European allies are turning Davos into a political pressure cooker. At the same time, in the US, another round of talks on ending the war just wrapped up. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Ukraine's team has spent the past days meeting with representatives of President Donald Trump administration, working through what could become the next steps toward peace, security guarantees, and rebuilding the country after the war. Zelenskyy stressed that Kyiv is not only talking about politics and papers. He says the American side is being told about everyday reality in Ukraine, about cities sitting in the dark, homes without heat, and families trying to get through winter as Russia keeps hitting the energy system. At the same time, Zelenskyy said Russia's actions tell a different story. While talks are happening, missile strikes and blackouts continue, along with threats to critical infrastructure, including nuclear sites.
If the Russians seriously wanted to end the war, they'd focus on diplomacy, not on missile strikes, blackouts, and even attempts to damage our nuclear power plants. We have information about the sites Russia reconnoitered in preparation for strikes. Everything clearly shows that diplomacy is not a priority for Russia. This must be acknowledged. Pressure on the aggressor and the real cause of this war must continue. The cause is in Moscow. In the coming week, we will work to build this new pressure and a clear global position on Russia.
The Kremlin is openly gloating. Russia has welcomed US President Donald Trump's threat to slap tariffs on NATO allies over Greenland, calling it a sign of the collapse of the transatlantic alliance. Kremlin economic negotiator Kirill Dmitriev wrote on social media that the transatlantic alliance is over, mocking European leaders and urging them not to provoke Trump. Earlier, Trump said Washington would impose 10% tariffs on France, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands and Finland, unless the US reaches a deal to take control of Greenland. He has warned the island could be acquired one way or another. According to the White House, the tariffs would take effect on February 1st and could rise to 25% by June. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev also joined in, framing Trump's rhetoric as proof of deepening cracks inside NATO. He said European countries would be punished with tariffs for relying on US protection. The statements came just days after European forces from several NATO countries arrived in Greenland for military exercises. The dispute over Greenland is fast becoming a test for NATO. Canada has publicly raised concerns after US President Donald Trump threatened tariffs against European countries that oppose American control of the Arctic island. Speaking during a visit to Qatar, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said that the future of Greenland must be decided by Greenland and Denmark. He added that the island's security goes beyond national borders and clearly falls within NATO's responsibilities.
And we're concerned. We're concerned about this escalation, to be absolutely clear. We always will support sovereignty and territorial integrity of countries wherever their geographic location is.
Carney also addressed a separate US-backed proposal to create a so-called board of peace to oversee Gaza's day-to-day affairs. He confirmed he discussed the idea with both President Trump and the Emir of Qatar, but stressed that any real progress depends on one key condition: large-scale humanitarian aid reaching civilians in Gaza. The proposed body would guide the next phase of the ceasefire, including the work of a new Palestinian committee, the possible deployment of an international security force, efforts to disarm Hamas, and the long-term reconstruction of the war-battered territory. Greenland tensions risk turning into a global flashpoint. An opinion piece, The Atlantic, warns that Donald Trump's tough rhetoric about potentially taking control of Greenland could shake NATO and set off a chain reaction far beyond the Arctic. The article stresses that Greenland is not just a remote island. It is a strategic gateway to North Atlantic security. For decades, key air and sea routes between North America and Europe have made the region central to NATO's defense planning. Analysts caution that any unilateral or force-based move by the United States could undermine the very idea of alliance security. Even a limited clash between NATO members, they argue, could fracture trust within the alliance and open opportunities for Russia. The piece also points the wider risks. A weakened NATO, observers say, could encourage Moscow to test the Baltic states and push China to take a harder line on Taiwan. A world built around collective security could quickly shift into a far more unstable and dangerous phase. The core message is that the decisions about Greenland are no longer a bilateral issue. They have become a test for the entire global security order. India is stepping into the fast lane of kamikaze drones and it's buying them from Belarus. According to the defense media, New Delhi has acquired dozens of Barkut BM strike drones developed by the Belarusian company Indela. This is not a typical UAV. It's a jet-powered one-way attack drone, essentially a flying missile with a warhead. It can reach speeds of up to 110 kilometers per hour and operate at a range of about 150 kilometers, making it harder to intercept. The Barkut is designed for quick, precise strikes. Its 10-kilogram warhead can be used against radar systems, missile batteries, artillery positions, and logistics hubs. The drone is launched by catapult, meaning it doesn't need runways or fixed infrastructure and can be deployed from forward mobile positions. Analysts say the move highlights how India is expanding its drone capabilities, and now these kinds of systems are becoming a central feature of modern warfare. Spain is in mourning after one of its deadliest train disasters in years. Two high-speed trains collided in the south of the country, killing at least 39 people and injuring more than 150. The crash happened on Sunday evening. A train traveling from Malaga to Madrid derailed, with the three cars sliding onto a neighboring track and slamming into another train heading for Huelva. The impact sent the front cars of the second train tumbling down a 4-meter embankment. Around 400 passengers and crew were on board the two trains. 5 people remain in critical condition, while dozens more are being treated in hospitals for serious injuries. The driver of Alvia train was among those killed. The cause of the crash is still unknown. The Spain's transport minister called it highly unusual, noting that it happened on a straight, recently repaired section of a track and involved a relatively new train. Investigators say it could take at least a month to determine what went wrong. Ukraine's foreign ministry said no Ukrainian citizens are believed to be among the victims or injured and expressed condolences to Spain. Propaganda nuns. Sweden raises the alarm over visitors linked to a pro-Russian monastery. Just before Christmas, women from the St. Elizabeth Monastery in Belarus were quietly selling handmade goods inside Swedish churches, headscarves, icons, and a peaceful image. But the Telegraph says there was more about the scene. The Church of Sweden issued an official warning, saying the monastery openly supports Russia's war against Ukraine and that money raised may be used to promote pro-Russian narratives. The newspaper reports that members of the group have previously been photographed in Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine alongside Russian soldiers and displaying symbols associated with support for the invasion. The monastery's spiritual leader has publicly described the nuns as a part of a so-called combat unit. A priest in a Stockholm suburb said he did not expect the controversy and acknowledged the risk of churches being used as a platform for propaganda. Church officials say this is a part of a broader concern about hybrid influence, where religious institutions can be used to shape public opinion in NATO countries. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more content.